Essentially, you've learned how to accelerate your brain. You got good at pushing. But what happens when you never take your foot off the pedal? Essentially, this is glutamate, the learning molecule that powers memory, focus, and everything you've achieved. But glutamate is also your brain's gas pedal. Ultimately, when you don't let it rest, it burns out. Over the next 24 minutes, you're going to see exactly what happens and how to rebuild. Essentially, your brain is designed to learn, remember, and solve problems. And glutamate is the molecule that makes all of it possible. 90% of your brain runs on glutamate. It's your learning molecule, your memory keeper, and the foundation of everything you think. Surprisingly, here's what you don't hear. Glutamate has a ceiling, and when you push past it, the molecule that powers your mind starts to destroy it. Essentially, this is level 1, your brain at its baseline. Glutamate is working exactly as it should, precise, controlled, powerful. However, push too hard without rest, the synapse overloads. Calcium floods in, damage cascades, and the synapse starts to die. Remarkably, here's the good news. Your brain is plastic. Recovery is possible, and understanding this mechanism is the first step to rebuilding. Importantly, let's step back and start with the baseline. What does a healthy, fired-up glutamate synapse actually look like? Essentially, your neurons are powered by energy, specifically ATP from mitochondria. This energy packs glutamate molecules into vesicles, ready to fire. Ordinarily, your brain is at rest. The synaptic cleft is mostly quiet. But the moment you need to learn or remember something, glutamate floods into this space. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that neurons use to talk to each other. It's an amino acid made from glutamine and absolutely essential. Immediately, glutamate arrives. It locks into receptors on the receiving neuron. AMPA and NMDA are the main types. This is how neurons communicate. Immediately, ions flood into the receiving neuron and it fires. This is learning. This is memory. This is how you think right now. Critically, the NMDA receptor is special. At rest, it's blocked by magnesium. But when glutamate and voltage coincide, that blockade is removed. Essentially, this dual requirement is genius design. It means the brain only encodes memories when timing aligns when you're truly paying attention.
Perfect start to the morning.
Critically, calcium triggers a chemical cascade that strengthens the synapse. This is long-term potentiation LTP, the cellular basis of memory, and it requires precise glutamate timing. Essentially, at baseline your brain is perfectly balanced. Glutamate gets released in precise amounts, does its job, and gets recycled immediately. Astrocytes, these glial support cells, have specialized proteins that grab glutamate out of the synapse and recycle it. It's a cleanup crew, and it's very efficient. Essentially, this balance is where your brain performs best. You learn, remember, think clearly. But what happens when the stress doesn't stop? Critically, the problem starts here: stress. Whether it's work pressure, anxiety, sleep deprivation, or relentless learning stress triggers your brain to release more glutamate. Continuously, glutamate pours into the synapse. At first, this feels amazing. You're sharp, focused, energized, your performance peaks. This is the flow state. Remarkably, here's what nobody tells you. Your brain's recycling system has a limit. Push past it, and the cleanup crew can't keep up anymore. Importantly, glutamate levels rise, and NMDA receptors open more often. Calcium floods in continuously now, not just during memory-critical moments. This is overactivation. Critically, calcium is essential for signaling, but too much becomes toxic. Mitochondria try to buffer it by absorbing excess calcium, but they have limits too. Ironically, your brain compensates by reducing GABA receptors that brakes. So when you finally rest, the brakes don't work as well anymore. Mentally, you feel amazing, sharp, focused. Your mind is racing with ideas. You're problem-solving at peak speed. This is the high of optimal stimulation. Simultaneously, at the cellular level, your neurons are burning through energy. Mitochondria are working overtime, pumping out ATP to fuel all this activity. Deceptively, you feel invincible, but your neurons are spending their energy reserves fast. And if this pace continues, they'll hit a wall, hard. Critically, the first sign something's wrong happens before you even feel it. Your glutamate receptors fire constantly, calcium levels spike, mitochondria work overtime. Remarkably, here's the critical moment. Your brain knows something's wrong. It sends out warning signals, and most people ignore them completely. Essentially, what are these signals? You'll see in the next 30 seconds. Importantly, calcium activates enzymes called calpains. These are molecular scissors, and they start cutting apart the structural proteins that hold the neuron together. Dendritic spines. The tiny branches that form synapses begin to collapse and retract. The synapse falls apart. The connection between neurons is lost. Simultaneously, this isn't just one synapse. This is widespread. Calcium flooding through multiple neurons, triggering cascading damage across entire brain regions simultaneously. Importantly, calcium activates enzymes that attack DNA. Genes begin to break down. The neuron's genetic instructions are being shredded. Immediately, the nucleus responds to this onslaught by triggering apoptosis, programmed cell death. The neuron is dying, not from injury, but from biochemical command. Ultimately, when neurons die from excitotoxicity, the brain's immune cells, microglia, arrive to clean up. But this cleanup process itself triggers inflammation. Importantly, this is where it gets serious. The calcium flood doesn't stop. Mitochondria fail. Dendritic spines, the branches holding your memories and skills, start to disappear. Essentially, this is excitotoxicity. And what happens next is what separates people with mild brain fog from people with serious neurological decline. Understand this. Importantly, chronic excitotoxicity doesn't end when the stress stops. The damage persists. Dendritic spines that retracted don't always regrow. The synapse becomes weaker. Critically, neurons shrink. They lose dendrites. They lose the branching structure that connects them to thousands of other neurons. The brain becomes less densely connected. Critically, fewer connections mean less brain capacity, less memory, less focus, less executive function. This is burnout at the cellular level, and it looks like degeneration. Essentially, your prefrontal cortex, the region controlling focus, decisions, emotional regulation, shrivels. That's why you can't concentrate, why choices feel impossible. Simultaneously, your hippocampus memory formation also shrinks. That's why you forget things. Why learning feels harder than it should, even with effort. Simultaneously, your amygdala, the fear center, is still firing hard. Your brain is anxious, paranoid, emotionally reactive, but you can't regulate it anymore. Imagine running your computer at 100% CPU usage 24/7, never turning it off. Your brain is doing exactly that. And, like a computer, it starts to overheat. Essentially, you're exhausted, but your mind won't shut off. Your heart races. You can't sleep. You feel wired but tired. Sound familiar? Ultimately, this is the neurobiology. Chronic glutamate dysregulation creates this exact symptom pattern. It's not laziness, it's not weakness, it's structural brain change. Importantly, chronic excitotoxicity creates patterns we also see in neurodegenerative diseases. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, they all show glutamate-driven neuronal damage. Importantly, glutamate excitotoxicity is one mechanism behind burnout. Sleep deprivation, chronic stress, and poor diet all amplify it. They compound each other. Managing glutamate can reduce one pathway of damage. That's important, but it's not a cure for these diseases. It's part of a comprehensive approach. Importantly, here's the critical truth. Neuroplasticity isn't just a buzzword. Your brain can repair damage. Dendritic spines can regrow. Mitochondria can rebuild. Remarkably, new spines form. Old synapses strengthen. The network rewires itself. But this recovery requires one thing: sustained, deliberate rest and recovery practices. Critically, sleep, magnesium, stress reduction, exercise, specific supplements. These aren't nice-to-haves. They're the levers that directly downregulate glutamate and restore GABA. Essentially, the blood-brain barrier is a physical gate. Tight junction proteins block most molecules from entering the brain from the bloodstream. Dietary glutamate and MSG can't directly cross it. External glutamate doesn't raise your brain's glutamate levels. This is established neuroscience. Ultimately, what matters is your brain's internal glutamate production. Stress, sleep loss, cognitive overload, these drive glutamate release from your own neurons. Essentially, your genes matter. Some people have more GABA receptors. Others have better glutamate transporters. Some have higher mitochondrial capacity. It's genetic variation. Obviously, one person can eat high glutamate foods and sleep fine. Another person's brain can't tolerate the same load. Neither is wrong, it's just neurobiology. Importantly, if you have ADHD, autism, or high anxiety, your baseline glutamate is naturally higher. You need more rest, more GABA buffering. That's not weakness, it's biology. Critically, let's recap the dark side. Glutamate overload damages your neurons, inflames your brain, tanks your focus and mood. Remarkably, here's the plot twist. This isn't permanent. Your brain is plastic. You have levers. Essentially, I'm about to show you the 4-pillar recovery system that athletes and high performers are already using to rebuild. First up, magnesium. Essentially, sleep is the primary glutamate reset button. Your brain's glymphatic system activates during deep sleep, flushing glutamate and waste out of synapses. Critically, 7 to 9 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep is not indulgence. It's essential maintenance. Miss it, and glutamate dysregulation cascades within nights. Importantly, this is the trap. High glutamate prevents sleep. Poor sleep increases glutamate. You're locked in a cycle until you intervene with external support. Magnesium is nature's NMDA blocker. It physically sits in the calcium channel, preventing excess calcium influx even when glutamate is elevated. Importantly, chronic stress depletes magnesium. Supplementing restores it. At effective doses, magnesium can reduce NMDA-mediated calcium influx by 30 to 50%. Critically, food sources include pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark chocolate, and leafy greens. Glycinate and L-Theanine forms cross the blood-brain barrier most effectively. Importantly, taurine is an amino acid that acts as an inhibitor. It reduces neuronal excitability and protects neurons from glutamate toxicity. Critically, taurine also protects mitochondria from calcium overload. It reduces ROS production and prevents the excitotoxic cascade from initiating. Essentially, taurine is abundant in seafood and nori. Pair it with B6 found in chickpeas, salmon, and potatoes to support GABA production from glutamate. Importantly, chronic stress keeps your nervous system stuck in fight or flight. Glutamate floods out. GABA gets suppressed. Your brain never enters recovery mode. Activating your vagus nerve through breath, meditation, or time in nature signals safety to your brain. Glutamate release drops. GABA production increases. Critically, breathwork, meditation, time in nature, social connection, play. These aren't luxuries, they're glutamate management. They're literally driving biochemical recovery. Exercise triggers BDNF, release a growth factor that supports neuronal survival and synaptic plasticity. This is why movement is recovery. Critically, BDNF crosses the blood-brain barrier and rescues damaged neurons. It stimulates dendritic spine regrowth and synaptic strengthening. Exercise literally rebuilds your brain. Exercise effects compound. Acutely, glutamate dips. Over weeks, BDNF rebuilds synapses. Over months, you're a different brain. Movement is medicine. Critically, sleep, magnesium, taurine, stress reduction, exercise, social connection. These 6 levers together create a glutamate reset. Importantly, when you combine these levers, the effect compounds. It's not just one practice, it's the system working together that drives rapid recovery. Importantly, dendritic spines regrow, GABA receptors increase, mitochondria rebuild, your brain begins to heal. Within weeks, you'll notice the change. Essentially, you've just learned the 4 pillars of glutamate recovery: magnesium, taurine, sleep, and stress management. Remarkably, here's the truth nobody tells you. The highest performing brains in the world, athletes, artists, problem solvers, they're not trying to maximize glutamate. Essentially, they're optimizing rest cycles and recovery windows. The best performers don't push harder, they rest smarter. Critically, muscle doesn't grow during the workout, it grows during rest. The same is true for your brain. Learning happens during studying, but neural strengthening happens during sleep. Importantly, during sleep, your brain consolidates memories and strengthens synapses. This is why sleep deprivation destroys learning. You're stopping the growth mechanism. Essentially, space your learning. Include recovery days. Review material days later. This oscillating pattern creates stronger, more durable learning than cramming ever will. Importantly, if you're optimizing your brain, you might think the answer is more glutamate, more intensity, more pushing. Remarkably, we're about to break that myth. The highest performers do the opposite. Essentially, your optimal glutamate point isn't the same as mine. It's not the same as anyone else's, actually. Essentially, your optimal glutamate point is unique to your genetics, your age, your baseline sensitivity. One person's optimal is another person's overstimulation. Critically, listen to your body. Anxiety and racing thoughts mean reduced stimulation. Brain fog and lethargy mean you need more challenge. Your symptoms are feedback. Optimization is experimentation. Try magnesium at different doses. Adjust sleep. Track your performance and mood. Find your personal optimal point over 2 to 4 weeks. Recovery isn't permanent rest. It's dynamic. After 2 to 4 weeks of deep recovery, reintroduce challenge gradually. By 8 weeks, you're back to full capacity. Importantly, the sustainable rhythm is stress plus recovery. Stress plus recovery. With rest built in, your brain becomes more resilient, not less. Capacity actually increases. Critically, over 6 to 12 months of intentional recovery and stress oscillation, your baseline brain performance increases. You can sustain harder work without burnout. This is neuroplasticity. Essentially, your optimal glutamate point depends on 3 factors: your genetics, your current stress load, and your recovery capacity. High performers know their curve. They test at the edge. They back off before they break. Importantly, this is the difference between sustainable optimization and the burnout trap, and it's entirely within your control.
70% effort builds sustainable growth over months, leading to lasting
Critically,
success.
here's a practical 30-day reset protocol. Week 1, optimize sleep and introduce magnesium. Weeks 2 to 3, add exercise and taurine. Week 4, assess and personalize. Importantly, don't see this as a rigid protocol. Weave it into your life. Meditation during morning coffee, walk at lunch, magnesium with dinner, play in the evening. Essentially, in 4 to 8 weeks of consistent practice, you'll experience this: clarity, calm, stable energy, better sleep, more resilience. You'll recognize your brain coming back online. Importantly, you'll have dips. Stress happens. You'll miss sleep or skip the protocol. That's not failure, it's feedback. Your brain will bounce back faster each time. Essentially, the recovery protocols become automatic over time. After 4 to 6 weeks, sleep optimization and meditation feel natural. Your brain wires them in as default states. Ultimately, this is mastery. Understanding your brain's chemistry well enough to navigate high-demand situations without sacrificing long-term health. You become the optimizer. Remember the synapse from the beginning? The one burning out under glutamate overload? Here it is healed, restored, stronger than it was before stress. Ultimately, this is neuroplasticity in action. Your brain doesn't just recover from glutamate damage, it rebuilds stronger, more resilient, more capable than before. Ultimately, this is your brain when you understand the mechanism and apply the recovery levers. Not just surviving, but thriving, clear, calm, creative, resilient. Ultimately, before you understood glutamate, you might have blamed yourself. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm weak. Now you know the truth. It's neurobiology. Understanding the mechanism gives you control. You're no longer helpless. You can make targeted interventions. You can rebuild. This knowledge is power. Critically, here's the larger insight. Glutamate is just one piece. You're learning how neurotransmitter systems work, how your brain chemistry drives your experience. Critically, start today. Don't wait for perfect. Pick one lever. Optimize your sleep tonight. Add magnesium tomorrow. Add a walk the day after. Build momentum gradually. Importantly, this is video 5 in the brain chemistry series. You've learned about GABA and glutamate. Next video, norepinephrine, your brain's alertness system. It'll surprise you. Ultimately, this is your future. Clear thinking, calm nervous system, deep sleep, sustainable peak performance. Recovery isn't an ending, it's the beginning of mastery. Ultimately, you started this video with a synapse burning out under glutamate. You end it with the knowledge to rebuild. You understand the mechanism now. Critically, here's your protocol. Start one lever, add one per week. By week 6, you're at full protocol. Track your mood and focus, you'll see the shift. Ultimately, your brain wants to be healthy. It's designed to recover. All it needs is understanding and the right inputs. You now have both. Start today.